The bright lights of the television studio in Hollywood illuminated the grand stage where the famous Newlyweds game was about to begin, filled with an atmosphere of excitement, love, and light-hearted humor. The audience clapped enthusiastically as the announcer introduced the 4 special couples who had come to share their joy and test the strength of their marital bonds. Couple number 1 consisted of Krista and Dustin Hoffman, who had been married for 16 months and shared a vibrant, energetic connection. Couple number 2 brought together Maddie and Ira Chapman, married for 10.5 months, bringing a delightful touch of mature wisdom and playful banter to the stage. Couple number 3 was composed of Tina and Kevin Feeney, married for just 3.5 months, still basking in the sweet glow of the honeymoon phase. Finally, couple number 4 featured Malika and Ray Davis, who had reached their 12-month milestone of marital bliss. The crowd cheered warmly for each pair, setting a wonderful tone for an evening of wholesome entertainment. With a wide, welcoming smile, the legendary star of the Newlywed Game, Bob Eubanks, walked onto the stage, waving to the audience and exuding the natural charm that had made him a beloved household name. He expressed his deep gratitude to everyone present, welcoming the enthusiastic crowd to the show and sending a special, warm hello to the 4 couples seated over on the side. He asked how they were doing and if they were fully prepared to have some magnificent fun together. The couples nodded and laughed, ready for the adventure. Bob then announced that it was time for the lovely ladies to head off to the special soundproof room so that the first round of questions could begin without them overhearing the predictions. While the ladies were making their way off the stage to the isolated room, Bob turned his attention back to the gentlemen, wanting to remind them of a couple of important rules. He explained that he would be asking them some 5-point questions, and they would need to answer these questions by predicting exactly how their wives would answer the very same questions upon their return. If the wife's answer matched the husband's prediction, the couple would earn 5 points. Bob reminded them with an encouraging tone that the couple with the most accumulated points at the end of the show would win a fabulous, romantic second honeymoon vacation. Once the ladies were safely gone, Bob introduced the very first question for 5 points, promising the husbands that it was a truly good one. He asked the gentlemen to think carefully about which statement their wives would say is true, whether the husband looks more like the wife's ex-boyfriend, or whether the wife looks more like the husband's ex-girlfriend. Bob turned to Ray first, asking which option was more accurate for his marriage. Ray smiled thoughtfully and explained that his wife had always dated rather unattractive guys in the past, so he assumed she changed that pattern completely when she married him. Bob chuckled and agreed, noting that she certainly upgraded. Ray then predicted that his wife would say she looks more like his ex-girlfriend, adding with a grin that his ex-girlfriend was always very pretty. Next, Bob turned to Kevin to get his prediction on the matter. Kevin expressed that he would have to say his wife looks more like his ex-girlfriend. However, Kevin added a surprising twist, explaining that his ex-girlfriend actually used to be his wife's best friend. Bob raised his eyebrows in humorous disbelief and jokingly suggested that someone should call Kevin a cab, implying that his honest answer might land him in a bit of playful trouble with his wife later. The audience laughed at the light-hearted banter. Bob then turned to Ira, who stroked his chin and admitted that he wished he could say something that leaned more toward a family connection instead of bringing up an ex-girlfriend, but he felt his wife simply did not look like his ex-girlfriend at all. Bob clarified the question for him, asking whether he looked more like her ex-boyfriend or if she looked like his ex-girlfriend. Ira concluded that he would go with one of her ex-boyfriends, predicting that his wife would say he looks more like her past partner. Bob thanked him for the clear answer and turned to Dustin. Dustin confidently responded that his wife would say she looks more like his ex-girlfriend, wrapping up the predictions for the first question. Moving smoothly along, Bob presented the next 5-point question to the group of husbands. He asked them to imagine what foreign country their wives would say their own living room most closely resembles. Kevin was the first to offer an answer, stating that his wife would definitely say Iran, because their living room was currently just a complete mess. Bob laughed heartily at the self-deprecating humor, joking that he always liked a guy who applauds his own answers. Bob then turned to Ira, asking what foreign country their living room looked most like. Ira hesitated for a moment and asked what the United States of America looked like, then suggested Europe. Bob gently corrected him, asking for a specific country rather than a whole continent. Ira paused to think, and Bob humorously encouraged him, saying anytime now. After another brief moment of thought, Ira decided to go with Japan. Bob accepted the answer of Japan and moved on to Dustin, who quickly replied with Germany. When Bob reached Ray initially suggested Africa, but Bob asked him to be more specific than an entire continent. Ray refined his answer to South Africa, which Bob accepted gladly. Bob then introduced the final 5-point question for the first round, which focused on a playful sentence completion. He asked the gentlemen how their wives would say they would finish the sentence, which stated that the wife would be a whole lot sexier if her blank wiggled more and her other blank wiggled less. Bob started with Ira, asking him to specify which part should wiggle more. Ira responded that it would be her body, and when pushed for a specific part, he specified the buttocks. When asked what should wiggle less, Ira suggested her hands. Dustin was next, predicting that his wife would say she would be sexier if her breasts wiggled more and her butt wiggled less. Ray offered his own unique perspective, predicting his wife would say she would be sexier if her hair wiggled more and her buttocks wiggled less. Finally, Kevin answered that his wife would say she would be sexier if her butt wiggled more and her tummy wiggled less. Bob smiled at Kevin's risky honesty, jokingly repeating his earlier advice to call a cab for the brave husband. Bob then announced that the gentlemen would be right back to reunite with their newlyweds, and the audience would see how well the husbands predicted their wives' answers right after a brief commercial message. The show paused for an informational message about vehicle protection. The narrator reminded the audience that everyone has experienced the sudden anxiety of the check engine light coming on. While traditional insurance covers vehicles from accidents, it does not cover expensive mechanical breakdowns. If a manufacturer's warranty is expired or about to run out, the vehicle owner is fully responsible for unexpected, high-cost repairs. For instance, a broken air conditioning unit can cost over $1,800, a transmission repair can exceed $3,000, and a complete engine replacement can cost over $4,000. In the past, these breakdowns meant paying thousands of dollars out of pocket, but a solution was now available. A professional mechanic appeared on screen, recommending that customers always maintain an auto protection plan because one never knows when a breakdown might strike, making reliable coverage essential. The mechanic explained that Endurance had been putting money back into American pockets for nearly 2 decades, with plans crafted by real auto experts. This was why Endurance was highly trusted. No matter how many miles a car had accumulated, as long as it was under 20 years old, Endurance provided coverage, meaning insurance plus endurance equals total protection. If a breakdown occurs, the driver can choose any trusted local repair shop, and Endurance pays them directly, eliminating complicated paperwork and waiting for checks in the mail. The plan even covers 24/7 roadside assistance, meaning if a car breaks down, Endurance jumps the battery, tows the vehicle, delivers gas, changes flat tires, unlocks doors, and more. Viewers were encouraged to call the number 800-331-9042 for a free price quote and a free upgrade to an Endurance Elite membership featuring thousands of dollars in extra benefits at no additional cost. Following this, another helpful message was presented regarding healthcare options. The announcer highlighted the availability of a $0 Medicare Advantage plan that included comprehensive benefits such as dental care covering fillings, exams, and dentures, vision care covering exams, frames, lenses, and contacts, hearing care including hearing aids and batteries, and $0 prescription drug coverage plans, all at no additional cost. The Go Medicare Benefits Help Center was open and accessible by calling 800-856-8269. Both the call and the consultation were 100% free with absolutely no obligation to enroll. The announcer emphasized that callers might be eligible to receive up to $148 back on their Social Security check every month while qualifying for these $0 plans. The message repeated the contact information, urging eligible individuals to call 800-856-8269 to secure their maximum benefits through Go Medicare. The television program returned to the screen with an energetic welcome back to the Newlywed Game. Bob Eubanks stood ready, addressing the gentlemen and explaining that their predictions had been carefully recorded on cards placed right in front of them on their laps. Every time a prediction matched the wife's actual answer, the couple would receive 5 points, moving closer to winning the great second honeymoon. The lovely ladies had returned to the stage, and Bob playfully told them that the men had experienced quite a bit of fun while they were away in the soundproof room. Bob turned to the ladies to ask the first 5-point question, repeating the prompt about whether they looked more like their husband's ex-girlfriend or if their husband looked more like their own ex-boyfriend. Krista answered first, stating that her husband looked like her ex-boyfriend. Bob revealed that Dustin had actually predicted she would say she looked like his ex-girlfriend. Krista laughed, admitting she might be mistaken but firmly stating she wanted nothing to do with his ex anyway. Bob playfully mentioned that Dustin had spoken very highly of his ex-girlfriend, prompting Krista to humorously thank Bob for the instigation. Maddie was asked next and answered that she looked more like IRA's ex-girlfriend. When Bob checked the card, IRA revealed his prediction, which stated that he actually looked more like his own ex-girlfriend, causing a bit of confusion. Maddie playfully disputed this, telling IRA that he knew he did not look like her ex-boyfriend at all when he got on the phone. Bob complimented IRA, calling him a very handsome man, but Maddie humorously maintained her stance. Tina answered the question by saying she looked more like Kevin's ex-girlfriend. Bob joyfully revealed that Kevin had predicted exactly that, earning them a perfect match and 5 points. Malika also answered that she looked like Ray's ex-girlfriend, mentioning that she actually knew several of his past girlfriends. Bob checked Ray's card, which was initially held upside down, and confirmed it was a match, awarding them 5 points as well. Bob then moved to the second question, asking the ladies to name the foreign country their living room most closely resembled. Maddie went first and answered Germany. Bob asked IRA to show his card, which revealed his prediction was Japan, resulting in no match. Tina was asked next and also answered Germany, but Kevin's card revealed his prediction was Iran. Tina admitted with a laugh that his description of a mess was actually true, even if the countries did not match. Malika also guessed Germany, citing Ray's military items in the room, but Ray's card showed he had predicted South Africa. Bob noticed that Ray was tearing his incorrect cards in half and humorously asked him why he kept doing that. Ray wittily replied that since it was not a good answer, it was no longer a good card, though they might want to use the other side someday. Finally, Krista guessed Germany, and since Dustin had predicted exactly Germany, they scored a successful match. The final 5-point question regarding the wiggling parts was presented to the ladies. Tina believed her husband would say she would be sexier if her bottom wiggled more and her tummy wiggled less. Bob revealed Kevin's card, which matched perfectly with butt and tummy. Bob jokingly noticed IRA glancing over at Tina's tummy and playfully told IRA to keep his eyes on his own wife, causing laughter. Malika guessed that Ray would say her chest should wiggle more and her thighs less, but Ray's card showed he predicted her hair and buttocks, leading to a miss. Malika admitted it was a hard question, and Bob joked that Ray would probably be sexier if his own hair wiggled a bit more too. Krista correctly guessed that Dustin would choose chest and butt, matching his card perfectly and celebrating with joy. Maddie guessed that IRA would say her behind should wiggle more and her stomach less. IRA's card read butt and hands, which was close enough in terminology to count as a successful match. Bob joked that they could talk that one over later in their Japanese living room. He then announced that they would take another quick break to see how well the wives would predict what their husbands would say. The broadcast transitioned to another helpful healthcare announcement. Viewers were urged to call 800-497-9045 before an upcoming deadline to receive a free Medicare benefits review. The announcer explained that new Medicare plans offered approved benefits including dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage. These plans could feature free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free meal delivery, and free prescription drug delivery. Additionally, individuals might qualify for plans with $0 premiums, $0 deductibles, and no copays. Since these benefits were not awarded automatically, citizens were encouraged to make a fast and easy phone call to see if they could also get up to $144 added back to their monthly Social Security checks. The annual enrollment period was open, and viewers were reminded that there was no obligation to enroll, making the review completely free. Following this, Med4Home presented a message regarding respiratory care, explaining that under Medicare, a patient's nebulizer and medications might be fully covered by Part B benefits. Operating as a specialty pharmacy since year 1998, Med4Home offered to handle all doctor communications and paperwork, delivering supplies directly to the patient's door with no additional cost for shipping. With pharmacists and respiratory therapists available 24/7, viewers were invited to call 1-800-200-904 to discover how portable nebulizers could help them breathe easier. Returning to the Newlywed game stage, Bob Eubanks welcomed the audience back and explained the next phase of the contest. The husbands were now secluded offstage, and it was the ladies' turn to predict what their husbands would say, with each correct match now being worth 10 points. The first question asked who was more on the prowl when the couple first met, the husband or the wife. Tina immediately answered that it was definitely him, explaining that he was actively looking for a girl and humorously adding that he used to have trouble getting dates. She laughed, knowing he might be shocked to hear her say that on television. Maddie answered that she herself was definitely the one on the prowl, calling herself a little devil. Krista predicted Dustin would say she was the one on the prowl because she was out doing her single thing at that time. Malika also admitted she was the one on the prowl, explaining that she used to be at his house every night, calling and bugging him constantly. The next 10-point question asked the ladies to complete the sentence stating that their husband's blank does not seem to go with the rest of his body. Krista answered that it was his hair, joking that his hair did not seem to go with anybody's body and felt very separate from him. Malika answered that it was his feet, describing them as big and ugly. Tina also chose his feet, but for the opposite reason, explaining that he actually had very nice feet while the rest of his body was very skinny. Maddie answered that it was his stomach, because she felt it was a bit too large, predicting her husband would love hearing that. Bob then introduced the special 25-point bonus question for the round. He asked the ladies to recall the last time they saw their husbands eat potatoes and choose whether they were mashed, baked, fried, or something else. Malika guessed mashed, Tina guessed baked, Maddie guessed fried, and Krista also guessed fried, completing the ladies' portion of the round. Bob thanked them for their great answers and announced they would return with the husbands right after a few quick messages. A brief promotional announcement noted that Tom Kennedy would be hosting a game show on the Buzzer Network later that afternoon. Following this, a brief message for CashNet USA suggested their website as a quick resource for people looking to apply for funding that could be approved as soon as the same business day. Next, a comprehensive healthcare presentation featured Tony Cooper discussing Humana Medicare Advantage plans. He explained that while original Medicare covers hospital stays and doctor visits, it requires deductibles and leaves individuals responsible for 20% of the costs. Medicare supplement plans cover those deductibles but often come with higher monthly premiums and lack prescription drug coverage. In contrast, Humana Medicare Advantage plans cover hospital stays, doctor office visits, and original Medicare deductibles, with most plans including prescription drug coverage. In the year 2020, members saved an estimated average of $8,400 on prescription costs. Most plans also offered the Silver Sneakers fitness program at no extra cost, alongside dental, vision, hearing coverage, and telehealth visits with a $0 copay. Many areas offered these plans for a $0 monthly premium, utilizing Humana's large network of doctors and hospitals. Viewers were invited to call the number on their screen for a free decision guide. Back on the vibrant game show set, Bob Eubanks reviewed the current scores, noting that everyone had earned points except for IRA and